What is up, everybody? Skratch coming up with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Welcome to the channel, everyone. We are currently on the test server. We're gonna have a look at all the brand new champions that are being added to the game this month. Most probably the patch will be tomorrow or the day after. Of course, we have the Fusion champion, we have another legendary, and we have 3 epic champions. They are adding 5 champions this month. It feels like it's kind of like the average number, at least 5 champions a month. So yeah, the champion pool is growing like crazy. Now, the Fusion champion looks pretty dope. We're gonna check it in just a second. Probably you guys noticed I don't have the camera on. I won't be having the camera on for the next 1 week or so because my house is a complete mess. I'm actually doing some renovation. So if you were wondering where is Skratch, why is he hiding from us, that's the reason why. I literally have no space to move the green screen behind me or anything like that. Everything is packed. But these are the champions right here, guys. 5 of them. This is the Fusion champion. I actually just threw some gear on the champion before because I wanted to test if the champion tries to use the revive skill if there are no dead allies, and it doesn't, which makes the champion even better. And on top of it, the base stats look amazing. This champion is definitely a badass. If you have the resources available, how I mentioned, don't skip on this fusion because you're gonna regret it later on. It has a lot of potential for a lot of content in the game. Arena, clan boss, dungeons, the Sand Devil's Necropolis, pretty much everywhere in the game is just a beast of a champion. So we have 21,000 HP, we have almost 1.3k defense, we have 105 speed, and we start with 50 resistance. Definitely some monster stats right there. And we know the skills already. We're not really gonna go over them, but that's the A1. We have the A2 right here, the A3, the passive, and we have an aura with 60 resistance in all battles. Definitely a very, very solid champion, and I cannot wait to get it on my account to have some fun with it. Of course, keep an eye on the next video, guys, because it's gonna be a video on the Fusion. Most probably, I'm gonna release them at the exact same time, so feel free to check that out. Then we have Korogar Deathbell, Ogrin Tribes, Force Affinity, HP-based champion. Love the weapon design. This sort of fire-ish thing coming out of the weapon looks pretty sick. The design on the champion is awesome though, so it definitely looks like a legendary. Base stats, 21,000 HP, almost 1.3k defense, 103 speed, 50 resistance. We start with 50 crit damage, and I'm not sure if he's gonna be a decent champion to deal damage or no. If we're gonna have a quick look at the kit, on the A1, attacks one enemy, heals this champion by 10% of their max HP. That's a pretty good heal for this champion with a basic skill. And we have 4 books in the A1. The A2, attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance fully booked of filling the thermometer of all allies by 30%. Also has a 100% chance, if it's fully booked, to remove all debuffs from all allies. Fully booked goes on a 3-turn cooldown. You need 4 more books in here. That brings it up to a total of 8. And is giving you thermometer and a cleanse. That's actually pretty nice. It's gonna be harder to tune in the clan boss, but still not impossible. Actually, on a 2-to-1 ratio teams, I think it's gonna be very, very powerful because of this thermometer boost and the cleanse. The A3 places a 50% ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. Also places a strengthen buff on all allies for 2 turns. This goes down on a 3-turn cooldown as well. Definitely a pretty powerful tank champion, actually. Looking forward to see what he's capable to do. I don't expect him to hit too hard, just because he's more of a support champion, HP based, but definitely a pretty solid kit. The passive increases this champion's resistance by 20 and defense by 10% for each ally protection buff on allies. Also increases ally resistance by 15 and defense by 5 for each ally protection buff on allies. If there are multiple champions on the same team with this skill, only one will activate. Counter attacks whenever an ally under an ally protection buff is attacked can occur once per enemy turn. This actually can be pretty strong for Hydra clan boss too. You're getting the cleanse, you're getting the thermometer, and then you're just getting ally protection and strengthen, and you're increasing your resistance. So It feels like a pretty nice champion. A 30% HP aura for all battles. So definitely not a bad legendary champion. I wouldn't call him a god tier, but he's definitely a fairly strong champion. Then we have the epics. This one actually looks pretty sick. Void Affinity, attack-based champion from the Skinwalkers faction. Akimtum, I think that's how you're saying his name. Love the design as well on it. It looks pretty badass actually. On the A1, attacks one enemy 3 times. Great for a Giant Slayer. Each hit has a 50% chance fully booked of placing a 5% poison debuff for 2 turns. That's actually very nice for a basic skill to have that many chances to land poisons. If the target is under a hex debuff, each hit also has a 40% chance of applying a debuff spread effect, taking one random debuff from the target and placing it on all enemies. That's as well pretty nice. It's gonna be a bit harder to kind of like make use of it all the time, but it can be nice for waves, you know. The A2 attacks all enemies 3 times. Each hit has a 60% chance of increasing the duration of any hex debuffs on enemies by 1 turn. This goes down to a 3-turn cooldown fully booked. It just seems to need quite a few books, so we have 10 books in total so far. Actually, yeah, and the passive a few more. If enemies are not under a hex debuff, each hit has a 60% chance of placing a hex debuff for 2 turns. So you have quite a bit of a chance to place the hex. Then you can increase it. With the passive, has 100% chance fully booked of inflicting damage from 1 poison debuff to enemies under a hex debuff whenever their allies receive damage from poison debuffs. So this again is working better on waves. Unfortunately, poisons are not great on the Hydra clan boss, and a couple of heads are immune to poisons, so it's hard to kind of like justify using this champion there because of everything that he does. And for clan boss, the passive doesn't really sound like will activate, right? Even though it should, but the clan boss has no other allies. I gotta test it to see if will activate on the clan boss or no. We have a speed aura for all battles. Base stats are not too bad, but not that amazing either. So the HP is good, attack is decent, the defense is pretty low, speed is kind of like, yeah, average. Looking decent as a champion, curious to see if it activates on clan boss or no. Then we have Kellan the Shrike, Sylvan Watchers, Magic Affinity, attack-based champion. Decentish base stats, his HP is pretty low, attack is actually good, and the defense is fairly decent for an epic champion. Speed, not that amazing either. On the A1, we have attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of placing a weaken. That increases up to 50 if you fully book him. You need 5 books in the A1. On the A2, attacks one enemy 2 times. The first hit has a 75% chance fully booked 100 to decrease the target's turn meter by 50%. The second hit has a 75% chance fully booked 100 to land a decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Also places a perfect veil buff on this champion for 2 turns. I'm not sure what sort of damage will this champion do. I wish the A1 was a multi-hit. That would have made him very, very good for the Fire Knight. The A3 attacks all enemies. Damage increases by 5% for each debuff on the target. Now, this skill right here could have some solid potential. You're getting 20% more from books, and it can go down to a 4-turn cooldown if you're landing a lot of debuffs on the enemies. He might be doing some serious damage. That's another thing that I gotta test out to see how hard will the champion actually hit. And he needs in total 5, 10, 13 books. The passive will ignore shield buffs when attacking under a perfect veil buff. Pretty decent. So, how you guys can see, the champions for this month are not crazy out of the ordinary. They look decent, but yeah. The next one is Anda Moonbeam and is from the Sylvan Watchers as well. Attack-based champion, Spirit Affinity. Decent base stats. 14k HP, 900 defense, 1.4k attack. The attack is definitely pretty good, 99 speed. On the A1, attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance fully booked, a 40% chance to land a decreased defense for 2 turns. On the A2, attacks 3 times at random. Each hit has a 75% chance, a fully booked 100, of increasing the duration of a random debuff on the target by 1 turn. So it will be only 1 debuff, and the good part is that each hit will have a 100% chance fully booked to do it. The A3 attacks all enemies. Fully booked will have a 100% chance of placing a leech debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. That goes down to a 3-turn cooldown, and this champion needs 5, 9, 13 books as well. Seems like each one of the epics require 13 books. Increases this champion's speed by 2 for each enemy under a leech debuff. Yeah, this doesn't sound that amazing. Like, big deal. You're gonna give me 2 speed for leech in clan boss. That's gonna be a bit on and off. On the rest of the things is not gonna be as impactful as it might sound, because stand speed is nothing too crazy, you know. I feel like out of all the 3 champions, this might be the weakest one in my opinion. Of course, I gotta test the damage to kind of like get a better understanding of the multipliers, but so far it seems like this one is the weakest one. So we're getting 2 Sylvan Watchers epic champions. I definitely want to try Akimtam. Pretty curious to see what I can do with this champion. The legendary from the Ogrin tribes looks pretty badass. Pretty decent kit, I would say. And of course we have the fusion, which is a damn monster. And if you haven't checked the video on it just yet, it's gonna be up here so you guys can click on it. But that was all for this video. Much love, appreciate all of you guys watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Which one of these champions is your most favorite one, and I'll catch you all soon in the next one. Peace.